What is up YouTube? I'm Royal, I'm rank 1 Wild Rift, and in this video we're breaking down the 5 best champions for solo carrying in patch 6.3c. So in this video I'm gonna obviously tell you guys know who I think the best champions are, and you can find that in my tier list. But I want to highlight some of the champions that have been either recently buffed or have been becoming stronger and stronger throughout the patches as the meta has evolved and as indirect buffs have also happened. So starting off in the Baron lane, I would like to highlight Gwen. Obviously I do think that Fiora is the best champion right now for the Baron lane, but Gwen has been steadily receiving buff after buff after buff, making her one of the most dangerous Baron lane champions, not only for the Baron lane, but she can also be played in the jungle. Gwen is a great answer against a lot of ranged champions thanks to her second ability, as she can isolate targets within her second ability. And solo queue, a lot of players love going for these ranged champions. Comps will often have 4 or even 5 ranged champions sometimes. But Gwen truly excels against tanks. If there's an enemy tank in the Baron lane, Gwen is going to be able to easily get fed off them and shred them down the side lane with her true damage and her percent health magic damage. Gwen should be building very heavily towards AP, even though there are some tank builds that are actually okay on her as well. However, after so many AP scaling buffs, her AP ratios are absolutely insane, so you definitely want to make a use of that. Moving on to the jungle position, I do want to highlight Zed, and I don't just want to highlight Zed as a jungler, I also want to highlight him as a mid laner. Zed has been one of the strongest champions in the jungle for a long time, constantly being in S tier in my tier lists. The main problem that Zed has in the jungle is his first clear is pretty weak, but after your first clear, Zed actually becomes insanely strong. After some energy buffs he received like almost a year ago now, definitely a few months ago, Zed has become an absolute menace. And that's because he's able to constantly spam his abilities, do insane damage from a very long range while staying extremely safe with his mobility, being able to reposition with his shadows. I want you to pay close attention to this clip as a great example of how easy it is for Zed to just completely disappear, and it's impossible for the enemy team to catch him while he's still dealing massive damage with his shadows. He did receive another buff recently on the newest patch, which was not needed at all. He was already a very strong champion. The buff is targeted more around the mid lane, so I do think that mid lane Zed is also really good now, because he's early game in mid lane, which was the main issue that he had. Again, even though Zed is an assassin, his early game is actually quite weak. It's the mid and late game where he does begin to become an absolute monster, again because of how safe he can be with his shadows, right? So after this most recent buff, his early game in the mid lane is decent, and they also buffed his late game damage when he hits multiple targets with his shurikens, so his AoE damage is a lot higher, so he can do even more damage with his pretty insane AoE damage, right, in his shadows. I do want to point out that Zed's early game, while it's not great, after level 5 you do have a lot of kill pressure with your ultimate, right? So he's a great counter to a lot of these mage matchups that do have a lot of poke, which sucks early, but once you get your ultimate, you're gonna be pretty strong. Matchups like Syndra, like Twisted Fate, right? Champions that are weak if you're able to get on top of them. Especially because Zed is able to dodge a lot of their abilities with his ultimate as well. So Zed is going to count as 2 champions here, since we're going to be featuring him for mid lane and for the jungle. In the ADC Dragon lane position, I would like to highlight Lucian. Even though I do think Ezreal is probably a little better in more situations because of how safe he is, right? He can, even in hard matchups or hard team comps, he can always be safe and throw his first ability and his ultimate to do massive damage from a range. Lucian is definitely the best to just solo carry and hard stomp enemies. The cool thing about Lucian is that he benefited a lot from the item changes that came out last patch, the last big patch 6.2, right? Because the burst items that Lucian loves, like Essence Reaver, have been reworked in a way that they're a lot better for him. Before, Lucian used to go Solari Charge Blade, which was very similar to Essence Reaver, but that wouldn't give him damage, it wouldn't give him AD, it would only give him attack speed. So Essence Reaver, which does kind of the same thing as the Spellblade passive on Charge Blade, works a lot better for him, so he obviously benefited a lot from that. Then in combination with Magnetic Blaster, and then obviously Infinity Edge and Mortal Reminder, Lucian can do an absurd amount of burst damage. I also want to point out that Lethal Tempo did get nerfed in the most recent patch, so champions that relied on Lethal Tempo, like the Jinx, the Caitlyn, Kalista, and so on, all these champions are obviously still good. It's not like Lethal Tempo completely killed them, but Lucian does not use Lethal Tempo, he uses Press the Attack, right, because of how easy it is for him to proc it with his passive. So he does get another indirect buff. So he's gotten many indirect buffs in the last few months and has become one of the most dominant ADCs of the patch. Lastly, I want to highlight a support champion that not many people consider to be strong, and that's Senna. Senna is a marksman support champion, so she's extremely unique as she functions as an ADC. She does a lot of consistent damage, but she also does have a lot of utility. The main problem with Senna is that people don't really understand when to pick her and how to play her. And it's kind of holding Senna back, and you don't really see Senna being too OP unless someone that's very skilled can play her. So the main reason why Senna is like not super OP is the team comps. The problem that Senna has is that she's already a marksman, and for some reason people love playing marksman in Wild Rift. So you'll very often have a marksman in the mid lane, in the Baron lane, in the ADC position, where marksmen are most commonly played, right? And that's gonna cause your team comp to be very, very weak with all of these ranged attack damage carries. So ideally, when you play Senna, your ADC should not even be another marksman. Senna excels the most when she's able to be played support, but with an ADC like a Nautilus or a Gragas or a Wukong or even a Garen, or a Nasus. That's actually when Senna succeeds the most, and obviously you would probably need a duo queue to convince your team to let you pick Senna support with that type of carry ADC. However, even with 2 ranged, Senna does have good synergy with quite a few champions, so it's not too bad to play her as ranged. However, you want to make sure that the rest of your team comp is tanky. Senna loves having a strong front line, using her third ability to mask them to make engages easier for them. Her first ability, of course, being able to kill multiple of your teammates while also dealing damage. Obviously, being able to hit your ultimate on multiple frontline champions, giving them a shield, making them even tankier, is going to be super, super useful. But the problem is that often, because you are in the support role and you are one of the champions expected to go frontline, your team is going to end up not really picking a frontline, right? They're going to play Tristana top, Teemo top, whatever top. Your jungler is going to pick like an assassin, like a Zed or a Lee Sin, or something like that. Your mid laner is going to pick another mage, and then obviously your ADC is going to pick an ADC. So you end up playing Senna with no frontline, which is honestly the worst case situation for Senna. Senna wants to have as big of a frontline as possible, and that's where she excels. So team comp wise, Senna is being held back most of the time, but if you pick her in the right team comp and you're obviously a skilled Senna player, she's one of the best champions to carry games right now, especially from the support role, which is often overlooked as a carry role, probably because it's called support. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you're finding new picks to play, and if I helped to teach you something about these champions, I would appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe for more Wild Rift content.